Well, we got ourselves another bugger of a kit. Watch the video to find out why. Welcome to part 2 of the Hughes 500D. The first thing we're going to do is torture ourselves with the windscreen here. The braces are molded into the plastic, so we're going to have to mask all this off and try to paint that as nice as we can. It doesn't show it on the instructions, but I'm going to paint light green or clear green on these top two because you wouldn't want the sun beating down on top of the pilot, so those should be a tinted type of window on top. So let's get to painting this thing. The first thing we're going to paint are these two circles. This one's supposed to be black, this one's supposed to be silver. So we'll paint these up first because then we're going to paint the white over here and that's going to cover that up. We don't want to paint the white first, otherwise we'll have white on the outside. I noticed while painting this, if you do the black, you can actually do it from the front. It's recessed. What I should have done, and it probably would have been easier, is just take my black wash and put a drop in there and keep putting drops until that was filled in, and it would have looked fine, but that looks good how it is. The silver has to be painted from the back. We're just waiting for that to dry, and that's just a little bit of a pain in the neck. And then we have to mask all this off and paint white over that. I masked off the top bars. These are going to be the black ones. The bottom ones are going to be the white ones. I did the best I could. I'm quite sure it's going to come out wonky, but we'll see after the paint work is done. We're not going to do lights or anything like that, but we are going to put this on a little base. While I'm waiting for the windshield to dry, I decided to put this together with just a couple pieces of tape, figure out where I wanted to put the rod, grabbed just a piece of brass that I had laying around in my box, found a drill bit that is the same diameter, drilled the hole, and that's where we're going to have it. We're just going to put it in like that, and then we'll secure it and we'll put it onto the base. Now we're moving on to the white of the bars inside the cockpit canopy here. This is definitely going to come out wonky. It's not straight or perfectly straight, so hopefully it just looks the part. Academy could have done two things. They could have went the hard way, built a frame, and then let us put each individual piece of glass in, or they could have went the easy way and just made decals that we could have placed in here, and that would have made it a whole lot easier. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing this middle bar. I'm going to do that white. I found it easier to mask that off. Then I'm going to do a crossbar here, and then I'll finally do the bottom fat bar over here. It's more steps, but it is easier on the masking. Holy cupcakes, Batman. This kit gets worse and worse by the piece. Can you see what I'm talking about? When they put in the lines for the cage here, it's not even centered. It's over to the left-hand side of the cockpit. It's just, this thing is getting more and more frustrating. I just hand painted in the lines because you could barely see them on the back end. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put masking tape. I don't even care if it's a straight line instead of curved, but just to get this looking straighter. I don't know if I'm going to go back and put black and make the black thicker and the white thicker over here just to center it up. I may have to do it because that looks like absolute crap. Don't buy this kit. Simple as that. This is the point I'm at with the windscreen. I made my own bar across here just because it was easier. The masking is just ridiculous. You can't see those lines. I'm not going to make that middle bar any thicker. I know it's off center, but I'm just going to put this build on the shelf, and it's going to be a constant reminder of how some kits are really poorly made, and that I'm lucky that I can get Tamiya kits and Bandai kits and stuff like that. So we're just going to push on and do the best we can with this. I have both halves of the fuselage primed up, ready to go. I just got to paint the inside. These injector pin marks aren't going to be seen because of where the cockpit sits. Now the thing is, with this cockpit, I'm going to show you something on the directions that's actually missing again from the kit. And here we have the finished cockpit supposed to be going into the fuselage half here. If you notice on the instructions, from this pin to this pin, there's supposed to be a little lip here so you can lock the cockpit into the side without fidgeting around with it. Now, if you notice on this half of the cockpit, there is the pin there, there is the pin there, but no bar across to sit on this half. And you guessed it, on the other half of the cockpit, you have the little pin here, the little pin here, and no bar to sit on. So I was test fitting it, and it's just a pain in the butt. We're gonna get it in there. I really don't know what I'm going to do with this kit. I'm just going to try to blast it together as quick as possible and get it done. On to test fitting the door that goes on this side. There's a huge gap at top. There's a gap down the side. This doesn't fit in the bottom properly. And actually these hinges, look at how big that opening is for that pin, and this pin doesn't even align in there. The hole over here is a little higher. So yet again, more problems with this darn kit. So we're no longer going to waste good paint, primer, clears, or anything like that on this build. It's just not worth my money. So we're going to go over every deviation. If you notice here, if you can see the glass for the pilot's door It's actually the right size and everything, but the bend on it is too much. So the top sits in, the bottom sits out. I would have to really force that in there to get it to stay. So we'll see if we could get it to stay or not. But I'm gonna build the rest of this kit and show you every deficiency in it. This is the glass piece that goes on the rear door behind the pilot. The glass doesn't fit in here. It's too short, and then it goes too much of an angle over this way. So you'd be able to see that through the other side door. This would have to be grinded down to get it to fit in there properly. We've actually come across a piece that fits well. This side door fits pretty darn good around here. The passenger side window fits in pretty well. It does bubble out a little bit at the bottom, but nowhere like the pilot side. We're chugging away, slapping parts on here. The landing skids, they actually fit in nice and well. There is a little bit of a gap, but nothing major. The body, I have to say, is excellent. It mates up very well, even with the problems of putting the cockpit in there. The body is really, really good and should have no problem doing seams. The only problem is, now hopefully you can see this on camera. I don't know if you can, but when I put the canopy in, you'll see it. This side of the fuselage is longer than this side of the fuselage. So either you'll have to cut this down or build this side out to get that to mate upright. So once I put the window on here, you'll be able to see the gap. This is the bulging window for the co-pilot side. This window is too short and it actually ends up falling through mine, so I had to super glue it in here just to keep it in place. I don't know if you could see at the bottom of the bubble door, but in here, you can see where there's a gap at the bottom that the glass is too short to fill in this piece. Because I painted it black, it's pretty hard to see, but there's a significant gap at the top of the door between the fuselage half and the door itself. Starting to add the rotor, this piece should be down and flush. You can see that it's not, it's hitting something. It's probably hitting the peg that I was talking about before, that these two cockpit parts meet together, and this is supposed to come straight down and it doesn't, and there's no cover here. So I would either have to cut this off and put it down, or open this up and see what's blocking it and try to get that out of the way. More glass fit issues. These pieces of glass on both sides. I don't think you'll be able to see it on the black side, but you can see it right here. This same gap is on both sides where this window is just too short to fit in here. Okay, our next problem, the rear rotor. This peg, too large to fit in that hole. Either you gotta trim down this peg, shave it down some, or open up this hole. I'm gonna try to open up the hole just a little bit to get this guy in there. Next up, the tail fin, which I got on crooked. There's two little balls in here that have to slide in. Both little sockets have to be opened up. The gap to fit the top tail fin onto the stabilizer here. There's a peg that has to either be cut down a little bit, shaved down on the sides, I mean, or open up the hole over here. Otherwise, that doesn't fit. I just slapped a little CA on there to hold the windshield in place. Now, hopefully you can see it. This corner mates up fine, but then it starts to gap out and gaps out this way because the fuselage half's not meeting correctly. This side is longer than this side, so it starts pushing out on here and ends up with a gap right up here across your windshield. And here's the bird with the rotors on. The rotors actually fit on there nicely, no problem at all. This is actually a pretty nice looking kit if it wasn't for all of the flaws in here that just make it a bitch to work on. I would not suggest buying this kit. The $11.99 price tag just tells you what it's worth, and if you want to frustrate yourself, or if you really want to take the time, you could take a lot of time on this, correcting all the deviations and make a nice little helicopter. Well, thanks for stopping by, everybody, to check out the 1/48 scale Academy Hughes 500D, which is not a great kit at all. Like I said before, the price tag of $11.99 or $12.99, whatever it is, tells you what this kit is all about. Unfortunately, I've seen some people build this, or fortunately, I should say, I've seen some people build this and they did a really, really nice job on it. And it looks like their kits were either the newer version, meaning the first run versions, or they were doing the IDF ones, which looked a little bit better. I don't know, there shouldn't really be a difference between the kits, but this was an abysmal kit. So I'm 2 for 2 on my last one, so I gotta pick a good one for the next build. So what I'm gonna do from now on is, if I do have a bum kit, I'm gonna run through the whole build real quick like I did with this one, and show you all the deviations in the kit. This way you know what's wrong with the kit before you even go out and buy it. So if you like this content, please throw a thumbs up on it. It helps the YouTube algorithm know that you like it, and it spreads it to other modelers. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves out there, and I'll see you all soon. Take care, and bye-bye, everybody.